Weird, wacky, wild. They might be the three best words to describe New York City. But in a city chock-a-block with strange things, what are some of the strangest?
Startling to see something like this in New York City.
From the moss-covered ruins of a frightening hospital used to treat victims of a pandemic, to the store that caters to superheroes, to the gravesite that seems rife for a great escape. There's a museum dedicated entirely to an unusual art form, and hands down the most famous subway grate in the world.
From where a president was born to where a board game was born, we're counting down some of the most unusual tourist attractions in New York City in this episode of Window Seat.
In this city of 8 million plus people, there's a new and strange landmark around just about every corner. In fact, I stumbled onto the birthplace of Teddy Roosevelt on this random East Village street. Who knew? Go by the corner of 74th and Central Park West, and you just might find the marker to the first recorded motor vehicle fatality in the United States. Seriously, when Henry Bliss was run over by a streetcar in 1899. Like I said, this town is full of weird stuff, so let's count down to the weirdest of the weird. Starting with the ruins of an old hospital dedicated to the victims of the smallpox pandemic, located right on an island in the middle of the East River.
The smallpox hospital was opened in the mid-1800s, stayed open for about 100 years before closing and then falling into disrepair. The 100-bed hospital became a thing of the past, a ghost town really. But as you can imagine, with ruins like that, it has become quite a popular tourist attraction here in this part of New York City.
Built at the southern tip of what was then called Blackwell's Island, the smallpox hospital was originally built for what was then known as the loathsome malady, or smallpox. The place closed in 1875 and became a training center for nurses, but in the 1950s, the nurses' school was closed and the place fell into disrepair.
It's weird. I'd say the place has an eerie feel to it, but it actually really doesn't. It's kind of calm and peaceful and serene. You can see the moss growing on the side of the building, which sort of belies the horrors that I'm sure unfolded within this hospital's walls a century and a half ago. It's pretty stark and startling to see something like this in New York City. And just to give you an idea of just how rare it is, it was made a National Historic Landmark back in 1972, and in 1976, the city designated it a landmark. It is the only ruins in all of New York City with that designation. So again, there is no place quite like this.
It's fenced off, but the hospital's ivy-covered facade can still be viewed by taking the F train or the tram to Roosevelt Island and walking to the very southern tip of the island. What's striking about the smallpox hospital is that this beautiful, quiet, calm reminder of a truly terrible chapter in American history is just right here, a few hundred yards from the hustle and bustle of Midtown Manhattan.
You forget you're in the city. It's quiet, it's calm, there's none of the chaos of the streets of Midtown Manhattan. It's like an oasis out here. And it's definitely worth the escape, especially if you're not used to the big city and it starts to get on your nerves a little bit.
Can't recommend this place enough. If you're looking for the weird and unusual in New York City, doesn't get much more weird than this. Be sure to check it out. But be warned, there are some who say this place is haunted by the spirits of those who once roamed its halls. All right, let's get back to Manhattan and stroll to the Midtown east side of the city, where right there on the ground is a little piece of Hollywood history.
All right, so this is one of those attractions where you really got to watch what you're doing, or you might step right on top of it.
This was the very site where they filmed the most famous scene from the Marilyn Monroe movie, 7-Year Itch.
Okay, so picture this. It's 1 in the morning, September 15th, 1954. Hundreds of spectators show up to see Hollywood history made right here. They know that one of the most iconic stars in Hollywood, Marilyn Monroe, is going to film a scene right here at the corner of 52nd and Lexington. It's that iconic scene where her skirt gets blown up by the subway grate. Problem is there's not enough wind underneath the subway grate to actually blow up her skirt, so they had to install a couple of fans under there. No problem though, and that scene created Hollywood history really, and became this iconic landmark right here in the middle of Midtown Manhattan.
The romantic comedy came out in 1955 based on a play by the same name. In the movie, Monroe's character is trying to get some relief from the city's crippling heat, so she briefly stands over the subway grate to enjoy its updraft. Here's the thing about that scene some people don't know. At the time, Monroe was married to New York Yankees great Joe DiMaggio, and he was there that night as they filmed that scene, and he was reportedly furious at her exhibitionism that night and went into a rage in their hotel room a few hours later. They were divorced not long after that. Pay close attention next time you're at 52nd and Lex, or you might walk right past it because there's no marker at the intersection to point it out. But here it is, the most famous subway grate in all of New York City. New York is known for its unusual museums. There's a museum to ice cream, there's the Museum of Food and Drink, the Sex Museum, the Museum of Mathematics. You name it, the Big Apple probably has a museum for it. Which shouldn't make it too surprising that there's an entire museum dedicated to the preferred wall decoration of teenage boys for well over 50 years.
All right, next up on our list of unusual and strange things to do in New York City, we are taking you to a museum devoted entirely to posters. And no, not those Farrah Fawcett posters you hung on your wall as a child.
The Poster House is dedicated to presenting the impact, culture, and design of posters, both as historical documents and methods of contemporary visual communication. Hey, that's what their website says anyway. Decipher that any way you wish. They have massive galleries filled with temporary exhibitions, like this fantastic Nike one. And they've got some great historical posters, too.
So the museum's really cool. It's on West 23rd at 6th Avenue. They've got some great exhibits. When I came here, they just had an exhibit dedicated to all the Nike advertising, some of those iconic posters that we saw back in the 80s and 90s. And there's a really cool one devoted to Lester Beale, too, who really kicked off a really amazing modern industrial art movement back in the 30s and 40s. You'll recognize some of the work inside there. And the best pro tip of all when it comes to this is that the museum is totally free on Fridays. So if you're going to come here, check it out for free. All right, all you aspiring Supermans and Batmans out there, our next stop on this tour of weird and unusual things to do in New York City takes us right here to the borough of Brooklyn.
We're talking about Brooklyn Superhero Supply Company. Of course, wouldn't you know it, during the one time I make it out to Brooklyn, the store was closed. But if you're in the market for superhero gifts, costumes, toys, this is the place for you. You could buy a gallon of gratitude, chutzpah, or the most powerful force in the universe, love. Perhaps a supply of schadenfreude is more your speed. Whatever it is you need, Brooklyn Superhero Supply Company has it. And if you're looking for a memorable and unusual gift, there's no better place. All right, let's hop on that train again and head on over to the corner of 25th Avenue and 81st Street in Jackson Heights, Queens. Why here, you ask? Because this is the birthplace of Scrabble.
It's the crossword game you've played all your life, but never quite like this. And here's your host, Chuck Woolery.
The board game that spawned a TV show and an international cult following was the brainchild of Jackson Heights resident and architect Alfred Mosher Butts back in 1938. Scrabble struggled to take off for years until 1952, when the president of Macy's placed a large order for the game after discovering it while on vacation. Today, the iconic board game has sold more than 150 million copies in 121 countries and is available in more than 30 languages. It's found in more than a third of American homes. The Community United Methodist Church here in the Jackson Heights neighborhood is touted as the birthplace of the game. Throughout the 1930s, Butts devised the game in his Jackson Heights apartment and tested it with community members in the church basement. And while we're in Queens, let's take a slightly more sinister turn and head over to this cemetery on Cypress Hill Street, where a famous disappearing artist rests in eternal peace. Memorial number 509 is where you'll find the gravesite of Harry Houdini. Thousands of magicians and fans have visited the gravesite over the decades, which features unique elements designed by Houdini himself. Born Eric Weiss, he changed his name to Harry Houdini at age 17 because he admired the French magician Harry Houdin. There have been rumors that there was a secret compartment at Houdini's grave, and some believe that it holds dark secrets that are waiting to be discovered. But good luck finding it. Odds are all you'll find out here is a headstone, and one of the weirdest places you can visit in all of New York City.
Okay, so there you have it. There is our list of the most unusual tourist attractions in all of New York City, a place that's kind of known for unusual things. What do you think of the list? Anything we left off that we should have included? Let us know in the comments below. Also, we'd love it if you liked and shared the video so we can spread the gospel of travel. And if you'd be so kind, hit subscribe too as we continue our travels all around the world. We're at well over 70 countries now, and the journey continues. We're back with a brand new episode Friday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern. In the meantime, check out one of these other episodes from Window Seat.